founding in Malaysia 2 years ago, Myteksi has expanded to 16 cities across 6 countries in the region. And today with me is General Manager Adelene to talk about their Series C round of funding. Adelene, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
Now I understand that this particular round of funding is the third round of funding for the company this year itself, and it's probably the biggest total amount of investment into a company in the Southeast Asian region. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what we can expect.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yes, it's our third round of funding for Myteksi. Combined value is approximately 90 million USD. Combined with venture capital funding and also loans. So with this injection of funds, we hope to focus on 3 key pillars for Myteksi and also Grab Taxi of the region. Number 1, we hope to look at increasing driver-focused initiatives, really looking at ways to see how we can really improve the taxi service standards, not only in Malaysia, but Southeast Asia. Secondly, we want to also focus on establishing bigger imprints into our existing markets and also expanding into the smaller cities within the countries that we're operating in. And lastly, the third pillar is all about investing back in our people, investing into R&D. We want to ensure that we continue to be ahead of the innovation curve. We want to provide a product which continue to remain relevant to meet the needs and wants of Malaysia, needs and wants of taxi drivers and needs and wants of users.
So in the next 12 to 18 months, what sort of initiatives and social activities can we expect from Myteksi?
So coming back to the first pillar, driver-focused initiatives. So if I were to go deeper into that, we want to look at ways to see how we can improve driver quality, driver well-being, right? So we're thinking of programs such as ways to see how we can inculcate and nurture education, the importance of education into the driver's family, especially impacting the driver's children, right? So that's one angle. And we have recently run a campaign called Rights to Books, right? What this campaign is all about is about rewarding our top hardworking drivers with access to educational items for their children, right? So there were 500 drivers that has already been rewarded. So that was our first initiative, trying to impact, trying to focus on how important it is, how important education is to our new generation today. So that's one area. We're also looking at efforts to improve and refurbish the vehicles of the driver. Right? So looking at ways to see how we can especially look at efforts to improve taxi experience, especially when you sit in the car. You just want something that is comfortable. You want a clean car. So we're looking at ways to see how we can partner with third-party companies so that we can come into a win-win collaboration so that everyone wins, right? So the user gets to experience a better taxi experience. The taxi driver has a better car, I would say interior, and it basically helps improve the overall service standards, right? So apart from that, we're also looking at driver training programs to see how we can increase the literacy level of our driver. Thinking of running an English class for our drivers, right? To see how we can get more drivers to learn how to use English, to not shy away from using English, and as English becomes an important language today.
Now that Myteksi has approached its last stage of its early financing cycle, can we expect an IPO from the company in the future?
It may not be our final round, I would say, Series C. Some companies has gone to Series D, right? But I think what we are highly focused on is really to grow our imprints in the markets that we are in, to really try to impact and change the way Malaysians commute. So we have about 28 million people in Malaysia, 600 million in Southeast Asia. So that's my focus in trying to really have that impact, right? So before we can even think about the choices of IPO, I'd say it's probably in the future, but for now, still very early days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on that note, Adelene, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Shin.
And that was Adelene Fu, General Manager of Myteksi's. And now with the introduction of their Series C round of investments, we can probably expect a lot more from this homegrown company. She and Shannon, the HTV.